Hello and welcome to episode 161 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach,
And I'm Jeff.
and we're your source for drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
That's right. Just a couple of regular guys drinking some irregular beers, talking about Magic the Gathering, in particular, the online client MTG Arena.
That is right, and we've been going on a Modern Horizons 3 train recently. The set's coming out next week, so that's really exciting. So we have a little bit more for you because this is our pre-game episode. That's right, we can't go to the Modern Horizons 3 party without pre-gaming just a little bit. So we will get into that shortly. But first, each week we drink a beer. We rate it on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. So with that, Jeff, what is on tap?
All right. This week, the beer that I wanted to drink last week, but was bullied out of it. This is Queen of Craft IPA with Nectaron. It is from Wellington Brewery. Cool brewery around here out of Guelph. They do a ton of stuff. They've been around the block. They know what they're doing. And the cool thing about this is that it is supports women in that 25 cents of every purchase will go to support the Guelph Wellington Women in Crisis charity. So that's cool. Nectaron is a hop. It's
Mhm.
not nectarine, Zach.
All
There's no
right.
fruit in this. But yeah, excited to see how this tastes.
All right, Jeff's saying that because there's a possibility I may have bought this, being slightly dyslexic as I am, thinking that it was a nectarine IPA. So sorry, gosh. Oh God, reading the can explains the can, I guess.
What if you just like never read it again and just like assumed it had nectarine in it, and then we go to the end of the show and you're like, I really got that nectarine. Yeah,
Like it was
it really
really
came
coming
out.
through.
Yeah.
I mean, like sometimes hops have some of those flavors, so it's not crazy. But anyway, here we go.
Yeah, I opened mine. Couldn't
All
wait.
right. That's fine. I am ready for this episode because we have some magic news, which the magic news is literally just Modern Horizons 3 comes out next week. I'm very
Mm,
excited for it. Much more excited than I thought I was going to. Leading up to this, like originally when it was announced, I was like, it's going to be kind of cool, but it will take
right.
a back seat. But as we've been getting closer to the set, I've been getting really excited. Like the fact that we get to actually draft the set a lot is something that seems sweet to me. Like I haven't drafted the other Modern Horizons sets very much at all because they were not on Arena. And so this one
Yeah.
gives me a chance to draft the crap out of it.
Yeah, I haven't done them at all. And I think it's just like a cascading thing. At first you're like, oh, some of these cards will matter for me now because it's timeless and that'll be cool. But what happens is you're like, yeah, I actually want some of these cards to play around with timeless. And that makes me more incentivized to actually draft the format more
Hmm.
than the one or two times I might have if I didn't actually care about any of the cards.
Yeah.
And so now I'm getting pumped about the draft format. And then that's making me like to look at the cards more and realize there are more cards in constructed that I want too. Because I have a habit of just like skimming the rares and mythics that people are talking about as my constructed. But sometimes there's an uncommon that's cool or a rare you didn't
Hmm.
notice before. And then you just get in this cycle where at first it's this kind of matters for me because there are going to be a few cards I might try out of timeless, and then it ends up being, wow, I care about everything in this set, and like I'm so excited for it. So it was cool. This is the first time I've really had that. That's never happened, and I didn't know what to expect. But now, yeah, now I'm just pumped for it as just a high-powered set that I get to
Hell
engage with.
yes. Uh Seems super sweet. So this week we are doing our pregame episode, which we like to focus on exactly what Jeff was talking about, which is our acquisition period. So when new sets come out, we always like to talk about our no pass list, which is how we acquire cards in Arena. And then we have another fun little surprise that's coming around. I think this has been something that's been happening with 17lands.com, but I didn't realize it was as maybe as big. So we're gonna get into a fun pack zero pick one
Oh
conversation
boy.
in a little bit. So that is what I'm really excited for. But Jeff, acquisition period, no pass list. Can you quickly explain what we're talking about?
Yeah, so if you are interested in building up your arena collection and you also enjoy limited, the best way to build your collection is to draft. There's a lot of reasons for that, in terms of just the economy and what you get for drafting as rewards back on top of the cards you actually get. Just is more efficient than straight buying packs as long as your win rate is reasonable. But the extra important reason is that you get to see a lot of cards and then only take the ones that are relevant to you. That's what drafting is.
Hmm.
And so here on the Arena Regulars, we say you should also be taking cards that are relevant to you, not just within this individual draft, but in the greater scheme of your Arena experience. Meaning, we are pro rare drafting. If there is a rare that you want that you know you're going to play, that changes the equation on whether or not you should take it. That you've probably heard time and time again, don't rare draft, it's going to tank your draft, and then you're not going to use the rare, whatever. That's not true anymore. First of all, the sets are so deep that, replacing your sort of 23rd card with one that's slightly weaker. Imagine shifting the power level of your deck just down by like one card. It's not that big a deal. And the card that you would have taken over the rare, unlikely to change the outcome of your draft significantly. And if you, as long as you know you're going to use that rare, just in terms of gems, wildcards, the arena economy, it actually is worth it. So, for those of you out there that love both constructed and draft, this is what we do: is we set out a list ahead of time. These are the cards that we're going to take no matter what. Because you can say, yeah, it's great. I'll take cards I want for my collection, even if it's better than a card for my deck in a draft. But what happens in the draft is you panic because you're like, oh, is this a card I want for my collection? Or like, how much better is it for my collection than this card is for my draft? And you panic and you probably just choose kind of randomly or whatever. What we like to do is just set out ahead of time. These are the cards we definitely want for our collection. We will not be passing them, hence no pass list.
Hmm.
That way, when they show up in our draft, we get to kick our feet up, maybe read the other cards in the pack, use our full 1 minute timer there and just have that card selected. And then there's no stress. And we feel good about taking the rare
Hmm.
because we already promised ourselves we would.
Yes. Um, yeah, it's a great way to do it. Also, now things have changed a little bit since we made up this rule. We've had two sets with play boosters, and boy, are they jam-packed with rares. So it even gets more complicated. It's not even just like, do I want my rare as opposed to this common or uncommon? It's which one of these four rares do I want to take?
Yeah.
If you already kind of know which ones you'd prefer, that's really helpful. But obviously, if there's a rare that's really good for your deck, that's a bomb that's going to make your draft amazing, over, kind of figure some of that stuff out before
Yeah.
ahead of time. I would like to say that with the last set that came out, Outlaws of Thunder Junction, I made a very large no pass list, because there were so many bonus sheets, and I think it was just a little bit too big, and eventually I had to kind of abandon it just because it was just so tedious to think about constantly, because it was like all the regular set and the breaking news and the big score and the special guests. Like, it was so much. I'm very happy with how Modern Horizons is just, it's the set. I think there's some special guests, but I haven't even looked at them. Like, it's just the main set. Like, that's all I'm looking at, right? Um,
Aren't the pitch elementals technically not in the main
oh,
set?
oh, right. They're the pitch elementals are the special guest. They're part of the special guest sheet. So that could technically be part of your no pass list, but you so infrequently find the special guests that, like, I don't think they're really worth putting on a full list, just because you if you see them, you'll know that, like, I
Yeah.
probably want that.
Plus, like, if you're even touching red and
Hmm.
Fury's in the pack, like, let's be honest,
Yeah, take
Fury's
that
an
card.
absolutely nuts, bonkers, limited all-star
Absolutely.
bomb. So, like, you're gonna take it if you have any possibility of playing it,
Hmm.
anyways. So you don't
Yeah,
really need to make that decision in advance. But
exactly. Exactly. So with that, Jeff, let's talk a little bit about the cards that we want to put into our no pass lists. Normally, we always say take the rare dual lands. Every set has like rare lands
Hmm.
or rare dual lands. Um, this set does have rare lands. There's a cycle of monocolored ones, and there's also a cycle of fetch lands. Now, I already have all those fetch lands because they are the same ones as the ones in Khans of Tarkir. This is once again, I've mentioned this before, but the allied fetch lands are in Modern Horizons 3. The enemy fetch lands are not part of the set. They are on Arena now, and they were here like last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever when they were announced, but they aren't part of the set. You can't draft those. You have to use your regular like wild cards. So that's just something that's been really confusing. Everyone keeps having a hard time figuring that out. But if you don't have these fetch lands yet, please take them when you're drafting. They are you need them to play timeless. You cannot play timeless without the fetch lands.
Exactly. And it's part of the quote unquote like large barrier to entry to timeless is that
Hmm.
your entire mana base is rares, and you can, if you're going to draft this set, you can kind of chip away at that.
Yes.
um, Make it a lot more reasonable to play timeless. I do not actually have all of them. I crafted
Hmm.
sort of the main ones, basically the black ones, uh, that I
The
like, and
main
then
ones.
yeah, the ones that are actually important.
Hmm.
Um, and then I picked a few up from Cons Draft, but I didn't do a ton of Cons Draft on Arena, so there's still some that I'm missing. So those will be looking to fill that out for sure on my end. And then there's a part of me that still wants to go after the Bloodstained Myers and Looted Deltas just to have alternate art. But I don't think I'm crazy enough to take it unless like packs like pretty meh, you know?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
if the pack's pretty meh,
which I don't anticipate kind of being a thing, to be honest, in this set. But
probably not. Probably not. But you know, it is what it is. Um, I'm also planning on taking all the flares,
mhm.
except for the green one. I think I'm not really interested in that one, and a couple of the white, but blue for sure, and then black and red seem interesting as well. So we
Yeah,
talked all about those in a previous episode, so I'm not going to get too into that. But free spells, I'm going to take them if I see them.
yes, I'm right there with you, except I'm not really going to go after the red one, and mm, maybe I'll pick up the white one, but I'm just putting blue and black on here.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Um, Another card that I'm for sure taking, Primal Prayers. We talked
Hmm.
about this card last week, and I got super, super stoked about it. So if you want to hear about our combo deck that we're putting together, go listen to last week's episode.
Yeah,
But I'm
super.
gonna.
That got me excited too. That was like,
Mhm.
oddly enough, the first card that I thought of when I had the no pass list come around. I'm like, oh, that combo card we talked about last week. Got to get
It's
that
like
one. Then I
absolutely
was like,
Primal
wait a minute, I
Prayers.
don't have all the fetch lands. Those should probably be on here too.
Yeah, but yes, Primal Prayers. I'm for sure taking that, and that's the first thing I'm doing. I think when it drops is like trying to get all those and then build that deck because it seems
Yeah,
like a lot of fun.
totally. Um, Up next for me, and this is where we're starting to diverge. Uh, I am super interested in having access to the new Emrakul. This card just seems like nuts to me, ridiculous, especially in a world of Timeless where there's a myriad of ways to cheat this thing into play.
Hmm.
And the madness, like this seems totally doable
Yeah.
in Timeless as well. So this just seems like a new big fat guy that you cheat into play, but it's actually not that you can build your deck in such a way that it's not unreasonable to just cast it if you don't, the stars don't align and you don't get your combo. So I don't know. This card just seems like it's a thing, and I'm just gonna pick them up and be excited to play with. Whereas like I don't know, you may not necessarily take this card in limited because it's 12 mana. I don't know how well you can ramp in the format yet. Maybe this is going to be silly where it's like you should always take Emrakul anyways. But I'm just going to put it here in the early game, in the early, drafts. I'm not sure if this is even good and limited. Could be great. It could be terrible. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I think it highly depends on whether you can madness it out or not. Because even ramping to six is, something you have to do.
like
Um,
6 colorless in limited is also no joke.
yeah, though I think we're allowed to add wastes to our deck.
Right,
So
but you have to cast other spells.
that's true. Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. You do have to cast other spells. It's not just a full artifact set. Um, I feel like I really want this card, and I'm going to probably talk about this card later, but Kappa Cannoneer is a card it's a commander card that was printed in commander products, and then it made waves in legacy. Um, so this is just a reprint. It's not like, I don't know, for whatever reason it doesn't feel super splashy, but I really want to play it, and it's exactly
N-
the type of card I want to play.
New to Arena. Hey,
New to
we
Arena.
don't care about reprints.
That's true. That's true. I guess I've been hearing about this card since it came out, which was in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Um, but it's kind of like a artifact boggles card. You know,
Yeah.
this alongside like Stoneforge could be an interesting thing if you're able to have like a white blue thing where you suit up this guy. But yeah, I don't know. I'll figure something out probably, but I don't know. Ward 4 is no joke.
Yeah, I
And
mean Ward 4 is pretty close to hexproof.
unblockable is also no joke. So
Yeah.
I, I'm very interested in smashing face with this guy. So definitely gonna grab a few of him.
Yeah. Um I moving on for me, I am interested in the black Tarmogoyf. This is the 1 mana Tarmogoyf called Nethergoyf. Again, another card. I'm not sure you would ever want this really in limited. Um, just seems okay. Maybe it's fine. It's probably fine in limited, but not amazing.
Yeah.
Um, but I just want to play Jund Goyfs, man. That's what I
Hmm.
want to do, and I want to see if that's a thing. So I'm gonna be taking these. Um, little miffed that it's a mythic, so I won't see it too often.
That's
But
true. Well,
like, fine, all right, we get our mythic Tarmogoyf here.
that is the type of thing where it's like, man, I hope that this card is terrible in draft so that people don't take it and they just pass it to me
Right.
if it's ever opened. Um, though to be fair, most of
I
the
think the
time,
legend of Tarmogoyf is too strong for that. Like
oh,
sometimes there are cards that even when they suck, people just take them. And,
mhm.
But I wanted that sucky card. Why are you taking it?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I wonder if Nethergoyf does anything in draft because we do have like a bunch of sack lands
Yeah.
at common, so
It
that'll
feels
help
like
help
it's
that out.
fine, right? It's just a classic like 1 drop where it's good if you have it on turn 1
Yeah, and then
and then medium in
bad.
the late game.
Yeah, very medium.
But in a set where like, they're gonna be so much more high powered. Like in a normal limited set, I think this would be good, but not great. In this
Hmm.
limited set, I think it's probably gonna be fine.
Yeah, yeah, we'll have to see. It's really difficult to figure it out.
Yeah, I've never played one of these, so
I
I
know
don't know.
that's
I
the
think
biggest thing.
synergy is super important, is basically like I think it's a little more similar to Cube, where your deck is all about synergy instead of
Hmm.
just how good is this card in a vacuum.
Yes,
Um, and so this card being like kind of just a big beater, vacuum makes it probably not as good in this limited format as it normally would be. And I
for
don't
sure.
think it's amazing in your typical limited format.
Yeah, I don't know if the turbo mill type of like escape it out of your graveyard thing is going to be great
Yeah.
in draft. So, uh, but so hopefully maybe somebody will just pass it to you. That'd be really nice of them, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
No, thank you.
Um, there's a card I want to take, and I know it's kind of old news, but Harbinger of the Seas. It's a card we actually haven't talked about yet. Did we talk about this? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
Um, but it's really quick. It's one blue blue for a 2/2 creature merfolk wizard at rare, and it just says non-basic lands are islands.
Yeah.
So this is what I've heard it called Flood Moon.
That's
Um,
that's pretty good. It's
mhm.
pretty good.
Because it's blood moon text, but it turns them into islands, so it floods them.
What about Magus of the Floon?
Magus of the Floon, because there's a card called Magus of the Moon that was blood moon on a creature. Um, but I don't know. Floon? Floon? I don't like the Floon part of that, but anyway, Merfolk have during like the streamer event that was yesterday, a bunch of streamers got to play MH3 on Arena early. I was not one of them, but
What?
that's for another time.
Did you check your spam?
I didn't check my spam,
Yeah, I bet the
but
invite went to your spam, man. I
for
mean, don't
sure,
check
for sure.
now, but
Yeah,
it's the
yeah, yeah. That
point.
would just be embarrassing. No, no, no,
Yeah.
no. But anyway, I did see a lot of people playing the this Merfolk deck, which is the type of thing I'd like to have in my back pocket. Plus, like, playing Blue Moon, where you're playing like Blood Moon and this and anything else in Stone Rain, and just
What
like
happens if this and Magus of the Moon are on the battlefield?
I don't know. Do they like? Do
Are they
they
just
just?
both? Are they all like volcanic islands?
Well, that would be terrible.
I guess like okay, wait, Magus of the Moon comes into play,
Hmm.
and now there are no non-basic lands.
Hmm.
They're all mountains.
That's what
And
I was
then
gonna
this
say.
comes into play, and so it
Hmm.
doesn't do anything. But
Yeah.
then if the Magus dies, now they're all
Now they're all
islands.
islands.
Yeah, okay.
So then maybe you play this, but then you flicker them depending on what you think your opponent has.
Yeah, well, you have your blue deck. Okay, whoops.
What? Now they're all red. Now they're all blue. Now they're all whatever.
Opponent's just on Phoenix. Like,
Yeah. It's like, okay, dude.
yeah.
Uh,
What I like about this design is it's obviously, hearkening to Magus of the Moon. Um, and it's doing the whole Blood Moon thing, which I don't think they've ever done this, oddly enough. You know,
mhm,
do a Blood Moon in a different color. Um, but this actually makes sense because a lot of merfolk have island walk.
mhm.
And so this is actually relevant in a merfolk game plan. And so it's cool that this isn't just a fuck you card
Yeah.
like Magus of the Moon is, where it's just like, haha, you can't cast your spells, loser. And like this card is like, it does that, but it also it feels more justifiable to put this in my Merfolk deck where I'm like, no, I'm just trying to give my stuff Island Walk. I'm not
I just want to give everything unblockable.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not
It's
trying to like just
I'm so
lock you out of the
I'm
game.
sorry, you're not playing blue in
Yeah.
Timeless? That's stupid. You should be playing
Yeah.
blue. Like, come
Yeah.
on. You
What
have
are you thinking?
brainstorm.
Not
Like,
brainstorming?
yeah, yeah, geez. No, I totally agree with you. As well as like blue has had the ability to turn other lands into islands for a long time. Like Sea's Claim has been a thing. Um, Quicksilver Fountain was one of my favorite cards as a kid from original Mirrodin that slowly turned everybody's lands into islands. Like,
I love that card too, actually. I
yeah,
didn't really understand why, if or why it was good, but I love the card.
yeah. Well, I made very shitty Island Walk decks around it,
Yeah,
and
exactly. That's the classic,
yeah,
like
so it was not. I wasn't doing the busted stuff or anything really exciting. I was just playing cards that were shitty that were like essentially Dan Dan. It was basically just
yeah.
I was basically making Dan Dan.
It's like me
Um,
with my Proteus staff deck, like polymorphing into Sarah Angels and stuff.
mhm. Oh, Proteus Staff. What a cool card.
Yeah, it was a great card. I love that card.
They should bring that to Arena.
I would love that. I
Yeah.
would super love that. With my new
It.
Emrakuls that I put on my no pass list. Now we're talking.
The Proteus Staff and the Emrakul. So funny.
Just like
Um,
bad creativity deck, but I'm here for it.
yeah, for sure.
For
Jeff
those who
wants.
don't know, Proteus Staff was the original. It actually wasn't. I guess Polymorph probably was, but it was
Yeah.
the indomitable creativity from my day. Okay,
Hmm.
it was like on an artifact, and you had to stack a creature. I think it maybe targeted a creature and destroyed it. I think it did the polymorph thing.
Yeah, but you could only do it as a sorcery. It had an activation cost that was blue. That's what we were.
Yeah, two and a blue. Yeah,
But like it was the type of thing where when you're looking at it, it doesn't look like it's blue because in original Mirrodin they didn't put the actual color on the activations. of
Yeah.
stuff, what made it really hard. Okay, so Proteus Staff is a 3 mana artifact at rare. So 2 and a blue, you tap it, put target creature on the bottom of its owner's
Right.
library.
That's what it was. Yeah.
That creature's controller reveals cards from the top until they reveal a creature card, and the player puts it on into play, and the rest on the bottom in a random order, and you can only activate it as a sorcery.
And my deck
Yeah.
was 4 Proteus Staff, a bunch of token makers, and then all of the cards that I thought were cool. And so it was like Sarah Angel, and sometimes you'd flip Bringer of the Blue Dawn, and sometimes like I
Oh.
understood the you don't want to put bad creatures in your deck and you want to
Hmm.
use tokens instead. But I didn't get the you should just have one really good, like the best
You
creature and
should
always hit
always
that.
hit that one.
I
Yeah.
didn't get quite to that part, but I got to the like I have all these cool cards that,
Yeah.
I can
I
play.
mean, that's probably what it is this like I can play all my cards. Why would I go and just pick the best one? And then I have to go
Yeah.
buy just that card? Like, no, no,
Why it's
no.
just like Darksteel Colossus every time? It's so boring.
Yeah. Just do something cool like all these other ones. I don't know what's going to happen. That's the point of the card.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, if only, if
Anyways,
only.
the last card on my list is Grist, Voracious Larva. We did talk about this card already, so I won't go too much into it.
Hmm.
I don't even know how good this card is. It's just the type of card that I like, and so I want it in my collection because I could see myself brewing with this for sure.
For sure. It's also nice to do this with a friend. So obviously Jeff and I do this on the podcast. But when I look at Jeff's cards, I'm like, oh, maybe I will try to pick up some of those. Also because I know Jeff is a good deck builder, so he's always going to show me decks, and I want to have the cards for him. So if you have a friend that does a similar thing, sometimes swapping lists can be really helpful as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Jeff. Let's talk about a new list we got going on.
Oh boy.
I'm excited for this one. Okay, so
Yeah.
I saw this on Twitter. I think this has been going around for a while, but I was not aware of it. So I want to make sure all of you are aware of it. I'm going to post links in the description below. I'm going to post it in our Discord, make sure everyone knows what's happening. But we're going to tell you our list first. But what this is it is a 17 lands kind of championship. And what they're calling it is a pack zero, pick one. So basically, what we're trying to do is we are trying to draft, not really draft, but we're drafting our fantasy teams for 17 lands data for the limited environment of
Yeah.
this next set. So, what we're doing is we're picking 8 different cards, and we're basically checking to see which
Technically
cards,
9, right?
technically 9, but officially 8. And we are guessing which ones are going to have the highest win rate on 17 lands right after release. Okay. If you don't know what 17 lands is, it's a really fantastic limited website where you can, players that are interested can have it as a tracker on their computer. And when you play, it gives you data about what you're doing. And you can go on it to see which cards are the winningest cards by percentage points. So the 8 different slots that we have is you need to pick a card that is white, it includes white, that has blue, black, red, or green. These are all commons. A miscellaneous common, and then another miscellaneous common. So these don't have any color identities. So Wooburg colors, white, blue, black, red, green, whatever color you want, whatever color you want, and then one of the signpost uncommons. For this set, we have a lot. We have 20,
Yeah.
I think. And we also have a rare, the most winningest rare as a tiebreaker, just in case.
That was the ninth, quote
That's the
unquote.
ninth card. Uh,
Um, and there's no like it doesn't matter. Let's say I pick 2 white commons, one in my white slot and then one
mhm,
in
the
my
miscellaneous thing.
extra slot. It doesn't matter which one is where, right? If those
Exactly.
are the top two.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Like
doesn't
it's
matter
not
which.
picking the best white common and then picking the best overall common, and it matters that what
No,
category they're
no, no. You'll just add up all your percentage points and
in. And it's game in hand win, right?
game in hand win rate. So before we get started, I just want to remind everyone what that really means. So, talking about Outlaws of Thunder Junction, for the commons, the game in hand win rate cards. So, the best ones for all the different colors. I'm just going to list them off so we can quickly
Yeah.
know, oh, that's what we're talking about. So,
Throw from the saddle.
yeah, so Throw from the Saddle is the best green common. Um, Sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. Take Up the
I
Shield
threw
is
you out of Wooburg order, so
You
it's mine.
did. Take Up the Shield is the best white, most winningest white one, but closely followed by Trained Erranks. But you would have done much better if you picked Take Up the Shield. For blue, it's Phantom Interference. For black, it's Consuming Ashes. For red, it's Explosive Derailment. And green, Throw from the Saddle. As well as the uncommon, the signpost uncommon would have been um, Miriam, the green white one. That is the winningest
Yeah, no,
multicolor uncommon.
that one's messed up.
Yeah. So just to get a framework of what those are, some removal spells, a protection spell, a counter spell, those types of things. Okay. Jeff and I have not talked about what our cards are to each other. So that's what's kind of fun about this.
I know.
It's also just a fun thought experiment.
I definitely took a certain approach that could pay off, and it could just be a train wreck. So
Yeah. I feel like I had a certain approach. I still do. I still have a certain approach, I think. But I'm interested to hear what you think, and I'm ready to be horribly wrong. I think that's what I need to start off with.
yeah, me too. Like I tried not to do like I didn't do any research either. Whereas normally I might have been
Hmm.
like, what does Channel Fireball think is the
Oh,
best? And then
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, no, what's
No,
the
no,
point of
don't do
that?
that.
Like,
That's not fun. That's not fun.
yeah.
All right, but I am going to put you on the spot, Jeff. We're going to snake draft this.
Do it.
Um, but Jeff, you go first. Start us off with your white common. What's the winningest white common?
Okay, white was actually one of the hard ones for me. So some of these I found easier than others.
Hmm.
White was a tricky one for me because I think there are a few different white commons that I'm really into. So um, maybe I won't go through all of them. Don't want to steal your thunder on which one
Hmm.
you picked, and maybe if we hint, maybe I picked one later. Um, but the overall white common, the one that's speaking to me, and to clarify too. This is early results
Yes,
in the
this is.
draft format. I don't know if we
Mhm.
mentioned that.
Yeah, this is the
But
first result. We're getting the answers like next week, not
yeah, so,
at
so
the
that you
end of
want to
the format.
bias towards what's going to do well early on in the format and not anything that you think might like come to the top once the dust settles kind of thing.
Yeah.
I picked Mixborn Unicorn.
Okay, interesting.
So this is one and a white for a 2/2 enchantment creature unicorn with bestow for 3 and a white. It has mentor, and a enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has mentor. I am a sucker, especially in the colors white and red. I am a sucker for 2 drops that are good later in the game.
Hmm.
And this 2 drop is very good later in the game and is still a 2 drop.
Hmm.
Um, it's definitely tough to get the use of the mentor ability out of a 2/2, but I figure you'll have like Eldrazi spawn and that kind of stuff. Like there you have these stuff kind of kicking around where you
That is
actually
that's the
can.
Eldrazi spawn thing is really interesting because normally when you think, oh, a 2/2 puts one counter from mentor on a 1/1, but it puts two counters on
That's
an
two.
Eldrazi spawn. I like
Yeah.
that. That's cool.
Now it's still just a 2/2, so like how you
Hmm.
attacking with this so many times,
That's
into the
true.
late game with these weak creatures, but it can happen.
Hmm.
Pump spells, etc. And so white was one of the tougher colors for me, but I landed on this one. It's hard to go wrong with 2 drop, good early, good late. The obviously mentor is really powerful
Hmm.
on the bestow uh, version of the card. So and bestow is
Really.
really powerful and limited if you never played
Mhm.
those.
Yeah, because remember that bestow is like an enchantment, but when you kill the creature that's being enchanted, it just becomes the creature.
Yeah, this
Um,
is like a 2 drop early, a 2 for 1 late,
Late.
and
Really, really cool. I had looked at this card and was really close to picking it, but I had changed the idea of what I was thinking this draft format was going to be.
mhm.
And then I picked the card that I am picking right now. So my winningest white common is actually a card that at first I was like, I don't really want to pick this card, But I was like, you know what? I could see this becoming a thing and being really irritating. So Hex Gold Slith is what I picked.
I was looking at this one.
Yeah, so this is 1 and a white for a 2/1 creature Slith. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy, and whenever it attacks, you may pay 2 energy. If you do, it gains first strike. But the big part is whenever it deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So all the Sliths in Magic history have that kind of rider of when it deals damage, you put
Yeah.
counters on it. It's like renowned forever.
This one
Um,
spoke to me because Slither, back from my Mirrodin days as a kid,
mhm.
where it's like I remember these guys,
Yeah,
and so I was
Slither.
like, "Am I overrating this because I just like it?"
Yeah. So my philosophy behind some of this is I think the energy is going to be pretty good. I think some of the payoffs are
Energy's
pretty
good, yeah,
strong, and the creatures in Kaladesh that had abilities like this, where you get energy when they enter the battlefield, you attack and you get some sort of value from it. Usually, the best ones were ones that made tokens and stuff. Um, but I think that being able to attack, I don't know if it's trained Airings, like in my mind, being like the fact that you just get something early that I can't really block. Um,
yeah,
because ideally you're able to attack and have a good attack or give it first strike the first time it attacks. You hit your opponent, now it's a 3/2, and then you get more energy to just keep pumping into this thing. Um,
yeah.
so your opponent just never has good blocks.
Well, the thing is, like, just think about the scenario, right? Like, you play this. Now
Hmm.
your opponent is in that situation of, do I just throw something away, trade my creature for 2 energy because they're going to give it first strike and eat my
Hmm.
creature? Or do I let them hit me, face the same decision next turn, but
Yeah.
it has 3 power now?
Hmm.
And it's just every turn they have to make this decision. So the card on its own, even assuming you get no other energy, is really annoying and is often going to force your opponent to throw away a creature
Hmm.
just so you don't have energy anymore, so they don't have to fucking deal with this thing. More likely, it's just a removal lightning
Yeah.
rod, but like this thing is very annoying to do. The fact that it's first
Super
strike
annoying.
in particular, meaning like I eat your creature.
Hmm.
Um, this threat of activation being first strike is like enough that you'll almost never have to actually use that energy
Yeah.
because it means your opponent loses a creature and just gets 2 energy for it.
Hmm.
So
The worst case scenario for this card is your opponent has like a
one
1/1
three.
and an 0/1 or something. Or
Yeah.
like where you attack and you're like, I want to give it first strike so that they have to throw their creature
Right.
at it
One
or
ones are
whatever.
annoying when it's like, yeah, block with a
Well,
1/1.
not even just a 1/1, but like because all the tokens are 0/1s. So if they have a creature that trades with this and a creature that doesn't, and you're like, just a stupid 0/1, that will be a frustrating thing because when you attack, you have to decide whether to give it first strike or not. If I give it first strike, they're just going to throw the 0/1 in front of it. If I don't give it first strike, we're going to trade. And it's like that's an annoying thing. I can see being frustrating with it, but I think early on in the set, uh, this will be strong.
Ooh. Okay, scratch what I was saying. I misread it. I thought you just pay 2 energy to get first strike in my head.
No, you
That's
have to
why I was
choose when
like,
you
man, the
attack.
threat of activation, like that card would be so fucking good if you
Yeah,
just gave it. That's right. I had that thought, and this was my top white comment, and then I
hmm
realized it's not how it worked, and
yeah,
I
you
ran away
have to
with it.
pick when you attack.
Yes, yes, yes. You
Yeah,
pick
yeah.
ahead of time, right? Still good though. Still a
Still,
very good two drop
yeah,
at common. Yeah,
but not like the scariest thing that you might have been thinking.
right.
Um, so with that, I'm rolling into my blue common.
Let's
And I
do it.
had the same thing because the energy colors in the set are Jeskai. So they're
Mhm.
white, blue, and red. And so then the blue card, I was like, well, I want to pick something that has energy. There's a few different things I was looking at, and there was, I don't know, some stuff. Eventually, I kind of just came back to the one that felt like, if I don't pick this, this seems just so stupid. Like, I kind of have to pick this card.
Yeah, this is
And
the obvious pick. That in my head when I was going through the blue comments, I'm like, there's an obvious pick, and then
mhm,
there's the pick that I'm gonna make.
yeah.
But
Yeah, exactly. So I was like looking at some other things being like, is okay, so the card that I'm picking is Aether Spike. Is this the obvious pick? I just want to make sure that I'm not like,
actually, no, this wasn't what I was
okay.
thinking as the obvious
So
pick. But
this is, I wanted to pick. This one. So it's Aether Spike is one in a blue for an instant. Choose target spell. You can pay. Sorry, you get 2 energy. Then you may pay an amount of energy, and you counter a spell unless the controller plays one for each energy paid this way.
Yeah.
So, in for a while, the best blue common has been like the mana leak quench thing.
Yeah.
But this one has the ability to um, save you energy. So like those cards are good if your opponent only has like 1 mana they can tap, then they can't pay for it because it costs 2. With this one, it's like if they can't pay
They tap
for
out.
1, if they tap out, they can't pay for
Yeah.
1. You gain energy off of this Aether Spike.
Plus, in the late game, it's not worthless because you might have more energy, and
Stacked
so you
up.
might actually counter something
You
later.
can counter something for 4 or 5 or whatever, but you
Yeah.
do have to use all of your energy. Well, this is interesting. I want to know what your like de facto
Yeah.
this card's
I think this
definitely the
card's
one.
totally reasonable pick, by the way. I'm just
Yeah,
like, quick side note on this card. So I feel like everybody has this like dad story of them buying. Uh, my dad did the grocery shopping, and my brother and I had this thing where like he would buy something really bad, but he'd buy bulk of it because it was cheaper. It's some
sure.
off-brand version of something. And so my
Cereal or
brother and I would be
whatever.
like, let's just like get rid of this as fast as possible and then ask him to buy the good stuff.
Hmm.
But then my dad's like, whoa, they really went through that so fast. They must love it. I'm gonna buy that again. And so we get
Hmm.
into these cycles of having these ridiculous, you know, products in our house. But one of those was a bargain sort of Gatorade style product
Hmm.
called Power Quencher. And I remember like being so upset with that name too, because I'm like, I don't want my power quenched.
Yeah. I
Like,
want to have more
I want
power.
more power. I think what they were going for was like, this quenches your thirst really powerfully. Like it does that
Yeah.
super well. But Power Quencher was just like the worst name I could think of. I was like, stop quenching my power, Dad. Like, buy me some Gatorade. But this card makes me think of that because it's energy quench.
Hmm.
And so I'm just
Oh,
like,
energy quench.
as soon as I saw this, I was like, this is energy quench. And it just made me think of Power Quencher, the like
Wait.
off-brand
Uh,
Gatorade we used to bring to our sports games.
oh, that's so funny.
Uh,
Yeah, I think this card will do some work, but tell me what the obvious one is because sometimes I just want to preface this. Sometimes when you look at these, you'll be like, well, this is the obvious one. And then when you start to think about it and look at other things, you're like, wait, I don't think that's the obvious one anymore. I think this is the obvious one. And then you
yeah,
get in loops. So
totally.
please tell me what the
For
obvious one
me,
is.
the quote unquote obvious one, and the one I expect to see at the top of most lists,
Hmm.
if I were to read around, next week or whatever, is Tune the Narrative. That was the one blue instant draw card. You get 2 energy. I think it's
Hmm.
just like, I mean, eh,
Jeff,
yeah.
when I told you before the show that I had a blue common and I second guessed myself and changed it at the last second,
Yeah.
this is the card I had lined up was
I
Tune the Narrative.
I think this is the one everyone's going to put as their top blue common. I'm not convinced it's going to net out that way. I think people tend to like overrate these a little bit, and what we're talking about is actual like game in hand win, right? You can't
Yeah,
like cheat that. But this is really close to
real
one
quick.
mana draw 2 cards. Like it's pretty close because the
Yeah.
2 energy actually can get you a card's worth of value in this set.
Jeff, sorry, I trampled over you. What does the card do? I know that we
Yes,
blasted
tune the
through it, but
narrative. 1 blue mana for an instant draw card, you get 2 energy. Very simple, but like we already kind of learned the power of glimpse, the whatever something glimpse. I don't know the Kaladesh card that's
yeah.
4 mana to draw 2 and get
Hmm.
2 energy. Um, this is very efficient. This is very close to 1 mana draw 2 cards
Yeah.
in an energy deck. It does ask that requirement of you. And we saw sort of the green, like go get a land, make 2 energy, being shockingly good out of the Kaladesh
Hmm.
format as well. So a cantrip that just nets you 2 energy, assuming the energy payoffs in the limited format are actually there, I think like is a bit of a no-brainer. The only thing is like this doesn't really do anything in a
Doesn't do
non-emergent deck.
anything. And so that was the reason I was originally wanting to pick this card, which I didn't. Officially I haven't, but um was that this card doesn't fit anywhere else. So no one will take this card unless their deck does the thing,
Yeah.
so that players will only have this card in their deck if it actually does what it's supposed to do, which means it will win more. Right? That was
Yeah.
the idea behind picking this
And it's so
card
funny
as
because
win
I went
rates.
through a similar thing, but I was like, people are going to just put this as the best blue common, and so people are going to be taking this in decks where it shouldn't really
Be played.
be,
Hmm.
and it's going to drive down the game and hand win rate. But then I was worried, like, oh, but it's 17 lands. Like these
So
people
those players are
mostly
better.
do know what they're doing.
So
Um,
that was a lot of my give and take, and now I had that like,
how about this?
man,
Neither of us are picking tune the narrative. If it is tune the narrative,
did you
we'll
not pick? You didn't pick Tune the Narrative?
no. So I'm
Oh, I thought you
picking.
picked that. Okay.
No, no, that was my obvious card, and then I was like, I don't want to pick.
Oh,
I'm not gonna pick
gotcha.
the obvious card. The card I wanted to choose and did choose is Serum Visionary. So this is two and a blue for a
Hmm.
2/2. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card and scry two. I just love these like creatures that get value on the way in, like limited. These cards just tend to always be the
You know
limited
what, Jeff,
powerhouse.
you're
You
so
know?
right. You're so right. I completely washed over this card just thinking of the gimmick of like, oh, it's
Yeah.
Serum Vision's not a creature. That's funny. Moving along, but
Yeah.
forgetting like the number one cardinal rule of limited is a creature that enters and draws a card is the best thing
Right,
ever.
those are always great. And
Always the
this scries
best.
too as well. Now this is a higher
After.
powered format, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, Scry 2 before I would have no reservations picking
Yeah,
this
yeah.
card, but Scry 2 after. So Scry in limited is really good. It's better than
Hmm.
it is in constructed. You might think that's a little odd because in constructed you're like looking for combo pieces, and maybe in that case Scry is better.
Hmm.
But in limited, Scry, like scrying a land to the bottom when you have enough lands is very close to drawing a card in
Hmm.
limited. So draw cards, scry two is really strong in limited, and stapling that to a 2/2. Like I'm here for this guy.
For 3 mana.
And I'm there for the pun as well. So
Hmm. It's it's great. The other thing, so the reason I'm joking about that is because a lot of people looked at Serum Visions when it was first printed, which is a single blue that does draw a card, scry two, and be like, oh, why can't I scry before I draw the card? But
yeah,
part of it was that like you get a card to replace it right away, and then you set up your next draw.
right. Scry two
Um,
is like what the card does
yeah.
and replaces itself.
So as opposed to like normally we see like scry one, draw a card kind of things where you're just setting up the card you're going to have in your hand. This one's like no, you get a card immediately, and then your next card is looked at,
Right. And then
which.
they made the card that people wished Serum Visions was, and it
Mhm,
got banned, preordained.
mhm.
So uh they were right to template it this way the first time.
Yeah, and so now we have opt.
Yeah. All right,
But
so I guess I'm doing the black card
yeah,
then.
give us our first black card, Jeff.
Okay, black was interesting. I felt similar to what I went through with blue, where I think there's some quote unquote obvious picks. I don't think there's one necessarily, but I think, there's removal spells that seem like they're going to be pretty good in a format with a lot of good stuff in it.
Hmm.
But I went for the value creature again. I just found it too hard to resist the joke combined with the value 2/2. So I picked Gravedig,
Mm.
which Gravedig is one in the black for a sorcery. Choose one. Target player creates a 2/2 black zombie creature token. I don't know why that targets a player, but anyways, whatever.
It can commit a
And
crime.
I guess.
You're grave digging. You're committing crimes, maybe.
Yeah, but you give them a 2/2.
Yeah.
It's a pretty weak way to commit a crime. Or you can return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand and has entwine for two. So the joke here is when you entwine it, you get the actual card Gravedigger, which is a 2/2 zombie that returns a creature when it
Hmm.
ETBs. Gravedigger is always a good limited card, and this thing is like Gravedigger with a little more flexibility. You can cast it for less if the card you want in the late game, like if it'll give you enough mana to do it all in one turn, or you can just cast this as a 2/2 if you're worried about getting run over early. And so
Yeah.
for me, that was enough. I think this is pretty good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think probably this is the one I'm most like, I don't know. Probably should have not overthought it and just picked the removal spell.
Yeah,
But
I so with this I picked Breathe Your Last, which is
Mhm.
the removal spell. It's murder, so it's one black black for an instant, destroy target creature or planeswalker, and then you gain one life for each of its colors. So you
Yeah,
gain life unless it's an Eldrazi. Um, but that was mainly just because I thought there was gonna be big stuff, and I was like, oh, this one's easy. I'll move on. I didn't
yeah.
spend too much time overthinking it, but I can
Red
definitely
was the
see.
one I thought was easy, but yeah.
Well, that'll be interesting because I did not feel the same way. But Gravedig, this card is awesome, and
Yeah. And I
the
love how the art looks like the character that
it
is
looks like
in the
Gravedigger.
classic art of
Yeah,
Gravedigger, yeah.
yeah, it looks so good. Kind of like you're behind it.
But it
Um,
is the action of him digging the grave, right?
yeah,
And the original Gravedigger art is just
it's
the
like right
character.
afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, And the nice thing about it, so Gravedigger usually because it's 4 mana, you get to spend one turn getting your card back, the next turn playing it. But because in the late game, you have 6 mana or 8 mana, you can 2 mana get it back and then play your 6 drop or
Or
whatever.
14 mana, get back your Emrakul, play it right away.
Totally, yeah, yeah, yeah. 16 mana, get a 2/2 along with it.
Hmm. Could make the difference. You never know.
Could it really could.
Gotta play tight.
Moving on to red. You said this was really, or you said this was really easy. I said it was difficult. Is that what we landed
Yeah.
on?
This one was an easy choice for me.
Okay. Well, just was looking at two cards essentially,
The
but
first two?
the first two, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but the one that I picked was Galvanic Discharge,
Yeah.
which is just a single red for an instant. Choose target creature or planeswalker. You get 3 energy. Then you may pay any amount of energy, and then it deals that much damage to that permanent. Obviously, goes in energy decks, kills 3 toughness creatures or anything less. Plus, you just gained energy. It's a single color. It's a um, single mana. Like it's instant speed, all the good stuff.
In limited, it's debatable whether this is better or worse than Lightning Bolt. Like this card,
Hmm.
this to me, I read this. I'm like, what? Okay, for limited common, gotta be. I
Yeah.
agree with you. The only reasonable choices are this or Fanged Flames, and since I
Hmm.
also chose Galvanic Discharge, I'll read Fanged Flames. So one in our red for Devoid Sorcery, deals 4 damage to our creature or planeswalker. If it would die this turn, exile it instead. Just another really efficient, solid removal spell. Maybe a shout out to Skoa Ember Mage for red for a 4/4 ETBs. It does 4, so kind of Flame Tongue Kabu kind of thing.
Hmm.
And you can discard extra copies to and sacrifice 2 mountains to deal 4 damage to any target.
Yeah, it's like a fire blast. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the design on the card.
Hmm.
Um, it's just like how often is that grander ability ever actually coming up? So this is like a really
Do
expensive
you
flame tongue Kavu.
do you really want to put like 4 of these in your
Like
deck? 4 6 mana creatures that you have to have one on the battlefield and sacrifice your lands to. I mean, you do get to end the game, but
Yeah,
um,
I mean, but like once you've cast this and you have those lands, are you not just casting another one instead of granduring?
you could do it all in the same turn, right? So you could like six
That's, I
mana
guess, it's like eight to
play
your
this,
to the dome kind
yeah,
of thing.
and that's
Yeah,
probably
in
enough to kill
classic
them.
Fire Blast fashion. I
Yeah.
guess, yeah, that's kind of cool. But I mean, just how often is that coming up in limited?
No,
So
well, you don't
Galvanic,
want to. You don't want to build a deck that has enough of those that you get to
oh,
do that. Yeah,
yeah.
because having
So
4 6 drops that are the same in your deck, just that are legendary, like I don't know, it just seems
yeah,
like so
and
brutal.
none of the like I was looking for value creatures, and so that's the one that called to me, and I was like, it's just too expensive.
Yeah,
Um, Oh, I see. I didn't even notice it was legendary. That's why you wouldn't just play it. Okay. Um,
yeah, yeah.
right. So Galvanic Discharge felt like the clear choice to me. This is just
Hmm.
really, really good. It's like can deal more than 3 damage if you needed to. It's the same thing
Hmm.
we had discussed previously with Aether Spike. It's like it
Yeah,
can do less if what you need to kill doesn't have 3 toughness and net you some energy, or it can do more. And if you played with energy, like The 2 mana version of this card was very good.
Yeah, there was a version of this card already printed, so it's called Harness Lightning. Um, but you had to like choose a creature and then you get the energy and do all the stuff.
But
But
Harness
yeah,
Lightning was 2 mana, right?
yeah, it was 2 mana. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like that's the card I was referring, and that card is very good.
Hmm.
And so just like Harness Lightning at 1 mana is kind of nuts.
Yeah, and you can hit planeswalkers with this, and Harness
Right,
Lightning could not. So
right. It was creatures only. So to me, this was the easiest choice of them all,
of the
actually.
bunch.
Yeah.
Well, we're looping around.
Hmm.
It's time for green.
Green.
I
Okay.
I have not maybe a wacky pick, but I have one that
Okay. My
is not
pick's
what I
pretty run of
normally
the
pick.
mill, so I'll tell you mine, and then
Tell me
I want to hear
yours.
your wacky pick.
I don't know how
I
wacky it
felt
is,
like
but
green was pretty straightforward to me as
mhm.
well, mostly because when I read this card, I had to like read it again and be like, really? Um, so yeah, I'm on theme here. I'm choosing the value creatures.
Mhm.
I chose Eldrazi Repurposer. This is 2 and a green for a 3/3 with Devoid. When you cast this spell, and when it dies, create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token with sacrifice this creature, add 1 mana. This is a 3/3 for 3 plus an 0/1 that ramps you that you get even if this gets countered. And then when this dies, I also get an 0/1. That's a that's a really it's kind of silly comment. But I don't
That
know. I that one's one of the first one that shows up, and I read it, and I was like, "Is there really going to be a comment that's better than this?" And then I was looking at a few other things, but this one's just stood out to me as being the most like, "Wait, what? Really?"
I have to be honest, I missed the when it dies part. Um, I literally just
Right.
read when you cast this, make a dude. I was like, okay, cool, and kept
It's like
going.
it's pretty good, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
like
keep moving. But the fact that you're gonna get two basically no matter what, that is super sweet. Um, but 3 mana also sometimes that slot, who knows? But going from 3 to 5 to sorry, from 3 to 5 is nice, especially with whatever else we got going on this set.
I think there are some sacrifice sub themes. I don't think it's in green though. I think
Green.
it's in black white.
Hmm.
But like you can if you're in green black, you'll have some ways to sack this too and get that scion right away if you ever want to. But like,
Totally.
always feels bad sacking a 3/3.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, for sure. That'll just be like hopefully we trade or something.
Yeah.
Um, I like that pick a lot. So with these, you usually look immediately towards the removal spells. The removal spell
Yeah.
in green is Horrific Assault, which is a single green for a sorcery. Target creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. If you control an Eldrazi, you gain 3 life. I think in general, whenever there's a fight spell, if it doesn't give power or toughness, it tends not to be the best one. You really want to be able to have your 2 drop kill their 3 drop kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
You said fight. This is a bite.
this is a
But
bite. Sorry, this is a
yeah.
bite spell. They don't really print fight spells
It's
nearly
all
as
bites
much.
now.
It's all
Yeah.
bites now, because the feel bads are just 2 for 1 of yourself. Just feels so awful.
And new
Um,
players found it confusing with like first strike and stuff. Like, does that
yeah,
matter in this fight? Like,
it's
no.
like no, no, no.
Yeah.
You're biting. Green just bites now. That is
Yeah.
not the card I picked, but that was one of the first ones I looked at. But I wasn't super excited
As
about it.
yeah, obviously immediate you have to put it in contention
Yeah.
when it's the green removal spell.
But the card that I'm picking goes with that card, which is
Okay, okay.
Nightshade Dryad. So I picked the ramp creature. I picked the stupid mana dork, but it's a 1 and a green for a 1/2 creature Dryad with Death Touch. That's the only reason I picked it because it you can tap for colorless and it can tap for any color. So it
Yeah,
taps for literally any of the costs you need, and it has Death Touch.
yeah,
Um, we saw how strong these like Poison Dart Frog was in Lost Caverns of Ixalan. That had reach though, so that was a
yeah.
little bit different.
Sneaky reach.
But you had to give it Death Touch when you wanted. This doesn't have Sneaky Reach, but it does trade with anything. So it's a mana dork early that then trades off with something later,
Yeah,
without you having to hold a mana for it. So
Yeah, this fits my good early, good late category. This was my number two. Um,
Hmm.
I also really love how they had to template this
Hmm.
because in a lot of sets, this would make very little sense because it's
Hmm.
like, why would I use the first so like add one colorless and then right below that tap to add one mana of any color? Like, why is that first ability there?
Yeah.
And obviously, in an Eldrazi set, it's like we want this to tap for anything,
Hmm.
so we have to put both abilities. So I just think it's so clunky, and I love it.
It is super
Uh,
clunky. You'll also see if you look at lands that tap, they do the same thing. They put the colorless first, and then they put the colors.
yeah,
Um, but yeah,
but
it
often
that
with
is
lands,
funny.
it's like a pain land or something. So you're like, oh, there's a cost to
To
doing the
the second
better
part,
option.
yeah,
This
it's
one's just like
longer.
the second one's just better,
Hmm.
except if you actually want colorless mana.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which we do. It would be kind of nice if there was a concise way that was like add one mana of any color or colorless or something. But
Yeah,
I don't know,
I'm
maybe
sure they
this
tested it and just found it confusing and like
probably
this is a little more clear.
it
Uh,
for some
or
folks.
maybe even just easier on Arena to like
That's
code or
true.
whatever.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
two separate abilities. That's true.
And you just pick which one you're using.
That could easily have been the reason.
Yeah, they do stuff like that where it's
All
like
the time.
it's just this is templated this way because Arena.
Yeah. So, Jeff, we have two more cards
Yeah.
that are common before we get to the uncommons and then our rare. So,
Hmm.
I can't remember now. We've kind of mixed it up a little bit. Is it my turn? It's my turn to go. Yeah.
Yeah, you did
Um,
red.
okay.
You get the easy one, and I did green. So now
Yeah.
it's you.
So, I decided to do it this way
If you didn't
where
pick the card that I'm about to talk about at all, I'm gonna be surprised.
uh, that's making me not feel great at all. Because I
Not
definitely did.
because I think it's such a good card that it's ridiculously big. Just because I think it's kind of a Zach. I thought of you when I saw it.
Okay, well then maybe I did pick that card. I actually have no
Okay.
idea, but the first miscellaneous card that I picked, it is black and red. So I picked Cranial Ram.
Okay.
So it's a common artifact equipment. It costs black red. I can tell by your voice that this is not the card you're talking about. It has living weapon, so it immediately goes onto a germ token, and it says equipped creature gets plus X plus 0, where X is the number of artifacts you control, and then it says equip 2. So it can easily be because this has like kind of all that glitters text on it where and it's very Timmy of me to want to play this card, and the fact that this card got banned in Popper today. I'm
How
like
dare you
looking at.
relate this to all that glitters?
I know it's definitely not all that glitters. It's a creature too, but it's not
It's
white.
it's literally named after the card that does this. Just gave it
Oh,
living
sorry.
weapon.
um, but anyway,
I'm a big
so
fan of cranial plating. I'm a big fan
gotcha.
of Rakdos. So yeah, I'm gonna be super honest. When I made my list, didn't realize there were gold commons in this set.
Really? Okay.
This is my first time looking at these, so
Well, fantastic.
whoopsies.
So that will be really, really helpful. I so technically some of these could have been picked as like your green, black, white, whatever cards. I
Right.
just
I thought when they said like um has blue or whatever, it was to allow the like colorless
oh, the
cards that have
colorless
blue
cards.
activated abilities or whatever
Gotcha,
as
gotcha.
blue.
As blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's because you could also pick these commons that are also gold.
Damn. Some of these look pretty good.
Yeah, some of them are. But anyway,
But they
cranial.
will get caught in your hand as you can't cast them and
Yeah,
lower the game in hand win rate.
that's true. Um, So that will possibly happen, as well as the artifact sub theme is black red
Yeah.
um, in this format. So I think this card can hit pretty hard. It goes on Eldrazi Scions really well, um, and does all that kind of junk. This is like the equipment that you would like to have. Doesn't give
Yeah.
evasion, doesn't do all that stuff, but having like a I don't know, 2 mana 2/2 that gets bigger and bigger. Who knows?
This is gonna be
But
that weird fucking thing that you'd think I'm used to by now, but I'm still not used to it. Of like uh when I discard Soken
mhm.
in my Oni Cult Anvil deck, and are they are colorless. They fucking
But
look
then
like artifacts.
they're not artifacts.
They're not, and that
Hmm.
like sometimes I've punted a few games, being like, I could just sack that, and then we do this. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
off we are to the races. We're in great shape. This is gonna be like just you mentioning Eldrazi Scions wearing this. I'm like,
And they're not
I fucking punt some
artifacts.
games counting that as an artifact.
Luckily on Arena, if you have Cranial Plating, it will tell you the number already. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but yes, if you play like the green card that makes or anything that makes
It's just about
scions,
my planning, right? Where I'm like,
mhm,
okay, and then I do this, and I have that scion, and that then
and
cranial
that will,
plating will be at 9, and then
mhm,
that they'll be exactly dead, and then I'm like, why is it 8?
that's
Yep,
why.
yep, 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 yep.
Yeah. Anyway, um, this one I feel kind of like a little iffy about, but I like it, so I want to talk about it, and I picked it because I like it.
Yeah, no, it's a sweet card. I
Hmm.
definitely appreciate the choice. I try to stay away from gold cards
Hmm.
to avoid casting issues.
Issues.
So, all right, I want to see what you picked next. So, for my first common,
Hmm.
I'll just tell you that I picked um, Breathe Your Last as my
Okay,
additional common.
makes sense. That's
Yep.
also like honestly going because I picked two gold cards as my miscellaneous ones.
Oh, okay.
I think that
Well,
I
then
think
we can snake it because I wanted to see if you picked the other additional card that I picked, but
okay,
so I'll see
yes,
if it was in your consideration at all.
but no, that's obviously we talked about this card and it's a great one to pick. Um,
Right.
but
So the other common I picked was a white common, and it was
mhm,
not the common you picked as your preferred
mhm,
white common.
it's not.
And I want to know if this was on your radar at all, because this
Mhm.
I was like, oh, Zach's gonna love this. The card I picked as my second additional common is Dog Umbra.
Okay.
So this is 1 and a white for an enchantment aura. It has flash, and it enchants a creature. As long as another player controls enchanted creature, it can't attack or block. Otherwise, Dog Umbra has Umbra armor. So this is like a split card, pacifism with flash, or save my creature.
Hmm.
And I was like, that's a lot of utility in what I think are going to be creature decks in this format for white.
Definitely.
Um,
I did look at this card and I can see its strengths. The thing that I like most about the Umbras in general is that they give power and toughness. And so, because I mainly want to use them to attack and less so as a hexproof thing. But it's probably just because it literally doesn't have the word hexproof on it. If it had the word hexproof, then I would
it's
probably
closer to indestructible.
it's yeah, it's closer to indestructible.
It's not quite ether, but it's
Hmm.
closer to indestructible.
Yeah, because if it
Um,
would be destroyed, blah 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 blah.
but like that's a lot of extra utility to put on a pacifism.
That's true, and it
Like
has
this is your
flash.
removal spell. This is you end step it if they play a blocker and you save it in your hand
Hmm.
as a protection if they don't, kind of thing. I don't know, this card seems pretty good. I was between this and the unicorn for my top white common, and I was like, I'll just
Hmm.
pick them both. Like whatever.
I think it's totally
Yeah.
great, and I'm definitely ready to see this card being everywhere. I think that pacifisms have just been felt so blah to me that like
Hmm.
it feels like it's mainly a protection spell and sometimes gets a
Flash
blocker.
on a pacifism is a big deal though, because
That's true.
you get the attack in, like you can basically guarantee it. Um, or just the timing makes so much more sense. Like you don't have to spend your turn doing it. You can wait and see and then immediately kind of flash it in. Flash alone on the pacifism has me interested, but
Hmm.
then a whole other
Dynamic.
angle to use the card when the pacifism would be bad
Yeah.
is intriguing as well. I
I mean,
think
like, I,
what
I, I'm sorry. I was
yeah,
just gonna say I really like the enchantment or like the enchanted creature auras that have like it gives my stuff like positive and it gives your stuff negative. Like Gift of
yeah,
Fangs. I remember
it's
that
cool
card
design.
being like really cool design. Like,
Yeah,
oh, if I have fangs, it's great. If you do it, it's bad.
right. For
Sort of
me,
thing.
it's like venomous, and for
Hmm.
you, it's like yeah. The thing that I think kind of tipped me over the edge on this one, um, over something, maybe like expel the unworthy is sort of the more classic white
Yeah.
removal spell, was we're talking 17 lands. This is a sort of like a charm kind of thing where you have multiple options.
Hmm.
Better players are going to be able to make use of that in a
That's
stronger
true.
way.
Hmm.
So, maybe in like the general public, this card wouldn't have the best win rate because people would misuse it. But I'm putting some faith out there in all those people who are choosing to share their data with 17 lands, which is a lot of selection bias and leads to them tending to be in tune with the metagame and pretty strong players. So
Hmm.
I think they're going to be using this card pretty effectively. And this card can lead to blowouts just because it has flash. You're not expecting to be down a blocker or you're expecting your removal spell to save you. And in week one, cards that can lead to blowouts tend to overperform. So
Hmm.
taking a little bit of a bet on this one.
That's
Like,
smart. I like where your head's at for sure. Um,
but now I want to hear which gold card you picked because it's going to be a total surprise what it does to me.
yeah. Well, I ended up picking a, another energy card. Um, there's some other ones that like caught my eye, but I
There's a
thought
theme
that
to your. You're taking the bet that like energy is good.
I'm taking the bet energy is good, and the next two cards,
I like that approach because if the energy is good,
you
like
win,
yeah.
you win. So I picked Conduit Goblin. So this is
Ooh, I
the
do love choosing the Boros one. All right,
mhm.
let's read it.
So I picked the the Boros one. It's red white for a 2/2 creature goblin warrior. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 energy. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, you can pay 1 energy. If you do, another target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains haste. So basically, exactly what you need for all your energy stuff. Um, Comes in, gives your first striking dude haste. It gives whatever else you need haste. Like this guy, I it just does what you want it to do. And I think that this will be really helpful. Like the turn one whatever into turn two, this give. Well, I guess it doesn't give itself haste, so that's the one downside to this card. Um, but it's like all
Yeah,
your 3 drops and beyond, you're giving them haste. They most of your creatures are entering the battlefield with energy themselves, so you're just like, give it haste.
yeah.
Um,
Because Boros, my understanding is it's like energy aggro, basically.
mhm.
Energy kind of go wide
Yeah,
aggro.
aggro, which seems super sweet with this,
It's
and
definitely the deck I'm going to be biased towards,
mhm,
But this is another week one choice, right? Like Boros
mhm,
always tops the ranks in week
mhm.
one. So
So picking all the Borosy type energy stuff is a good way to be like, hey, people will learn how to beat this card, but it's not going to be the first data that comes out. The first data is going to
yeah.
be like, oh, Boris is busted or whatever,
Mhm.
which tends to happen just in general.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, love this card. My only gripe or my only concern with it is like I want this card on turn two,
mhm,
but your mana's not always going to agree with you on that one.
it's true. It's very true.
But it's also not bad. Turn four, this plus
Hmm.
another two drop, give that thing
That's true.
haste. Totally reasonable. As long as
Yeah.
your two drop can attack through their three drop or whatever, or like
Hmm.
trade with it.
Or even just like, wow, my creatures on
And
board
it gets plus one
all
plus oh. So
exactly. You could even give something +1/+0. even if the haste isn't relevant. But
Yeah.
it's the same thing as like I just need energy. My creatures are energy hungry. This gives me more energy.
Yeah.
Boom.
True. Yeah, it's not even that's like
Just
the floor.
the floor. It's just like I need 2 energy for 2 mana, and a stupid boy.
Yeah.
This is the stupid
Little
boy.
little tutu.
Yeah. As we're snake drafting this, as it makes sense as well, we're picking our signpost on commons. So with the signpost on commons, normally in sets nowadays, in the past it used to just be like your signposts were there's like 10 gold cards. Those are all the signposts. That's it. Now we always have 20. I don't know if
Mhm.
anyone's realized this, but it's always like or it's basically like 10 of them are creatures, 10 of them are non-creatures
Yeah.
that fit a certain vibe to push you in a certain direction if you're looking at color combinations. For the set we are talking about currently in Modern Horizons 3, we have a set that are normal. So these are like 10, all the different 2 color pairs. And then there are also 10 of the 2 color pairs, but they are in hybrid mana and they are MDFCs. So these are modal double face cards. You can either play them as the spell side or the land side.
Mhm.
My reasoning behind this was that I didn't want to pick any of the ones that were MDFCs because I thought that people would be taking MDFCs higher and using them more often because they're so flexible. And so more losing decks could have MDFCs in them. And I wanted to pick one of the ones that just fits into a deck and is good and wins. And the card I chose, it fits perfectly with the card I was talking about just before this because I picked Scurry of Gremlins,
Nice.
which is the Boros enchantment. It's 2 red white for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you create 2/1/1 green. Sorry, green. Why do I do this? I always flip green and red together. All right, sorry.
You might be colorblind.
I am. I'm not, but I am. Just with words,
Only
though.
in reading how the color is
Yeah,
spelled out. You
yeah,
don't actually
exactly.
mix up the colors when you see them.
I have a
That's
new form of dyslexia that's color blindness.
yeah, color
Anyway,
dyslexia.
when Scurry of Gremlins enters the battlefield, create 2/1/1 red gremlin creature tokens. Then you get an amount of energy equal to the number of creatures you control.
Yowza.
That's at least 2. Then you can pay 4 energy, and it says creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. So this is like your
Really
kind of
good energy sink.
yeah overrun kind of on the job ish kind of just shove everything into this.
Yeah.
I'm treating this more as a spell that gives
Yeah,
2 hasty
you
creatures essentially.
it reminds me of what was it called? Resolute reinforcements or whatever
Yes. Hmm.
that like creates 2/1/1s, then gives your creatures +1/+0 and haste. It's that, except you may not always be able to do that, but
Hmm.
it has upside beyond that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll get to
You
activate that second ability more than
more than
once.
once.
Um, Interesting design. And Resolute Reinforcements was a dumb freaking nuts limited card. It's
Yeah.
very strong.
Also, just imagine like you have, I don't know, 5 mana, and then you're like, I'm gonna play Galvanic Discharge, gain 3 energy, not deal any damage to that creature, and just pump my whole team again. You know?
Yeah, right. Energy does work that way. Where it's like if you haven't played with energy, 4 looks like so much because all of the cards give 2 for the most part.
Mhm.
And then you imagine that you use that energy right away. But back when, I drafted Kaladesh and stuff, you it was not hard to
Mhm.
use 4 energy for an effect like this, especially since you have this card kind of sitting around your hand and you know you need it. So you're able to sort of use your energy as a resource in a way that's working towards this game plan.
Yeah.
So
Also, like if you know that your card slams and gets a ton of energy, you just don't trade off nearly as much. And I slam this, I
yeah,
always get 4 energy because at least I just have 2 other creatures besides this card, and then you have 4 energy. Boom.
right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I like it. It was one of the first ones spoiled, but as I was looking through everything else, I was like, this card seems sweet.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I love your thought process because mine was the opposite. I was like, I want to pick an MDFC
Hmm.
because I was just trying to I kept it pretty simple, but it was just like sometimes you're gonna win a game because you had that extra land you needed. This was in your
Hmm.
hand. You get to
Gotcha.
play it as a land, and then
Oh,
you
okay.
won, even though this card didn't it contributed to your win in the sense that
It was a
you
land.
played a land that you
Hmm.
needed. Um, And I know MDFCs are just like very strong. I don't know if they were win rate strong because I don't know if I was tracking that.
Hmm.
And if I was, I definitely don't remember. But playing with these, like I felt like MDFCs were just really strong. So I, and to simplify, I did the same thing as yours. Like I'm gonna have to narrow it down because I can't read all of these and possibly ingest them all and try to
Yeah.
actually make a reasonable guess. So I have to cut the field in half here. And so I went the other way as you, which I think is great because then we have different picks.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and then on the MDFC side, my thinking was the best MDFCs are the ones that are like crazy impactful. But then when you can't play the really
Hmm.
expensive card, you play the land. And so it pains me to do this. It does. But the card I picked was Drowner of Truth, which is 5 Simic.
Oh, what the fuck?
But this card has no colors, Zach. Okay, it's not a Simic card.
Oh, sure, sure,
It has
sure.
no colors. It's devoid.
It just produces blue or green mana on the back, but whatever.
Occasionally. Um, so it's a 7/6, and when you cast it, if colorless mana is spent to cast it, you get two Scions, and then it's a land on the backside that taps for green or blue and enters the battlefield tapped. I was also very tempted by Stump Stomp. I think
Hmm.
the like land slash removal spell. I think maybe I should have picked Stump Stomp, but I picked Drown of Truth.
Hmm.
Biasing towards the like just having that 7/6 sometimes is going to be like you win the game because you have a big creature. Um, but yeah, I
Interesting. Nice.
yeah,
Great.
I love MDFCs though,
I
so it's
love him.
definitely some
Yeah.
bias creeping in there.
And
Like
that
back in
was
my deck, I had so many when these were around in standard. All my decks had so many MDFCs in there. You know, I was the four spike land
yeah,
guy.
so good.
Yeah,
I looked at Stump Stomp for quite a while, to
yeah,
be
Stump
honest.
Stomp was like the one that was calling to me, and then I was like, I don't know. It's like it's just I feel like there's some good removal in here,
Hmm.
so I decided like I feel like there are going to be games where it's last creature standing kind of thing, and the fact that this is either a land to help you out or just a big
Totally.
I'm going to win the game
It's
creature
gonna be
is
super helpful.
would be it.
I can
Yeah.
definitely see that because your card just is, like we've said the whole time, good early and good late.
Yeah, it's kind of my thing.
Where the one I picked was only good in certain situations. So
It's never that bad though, right? Like
no,
creating 2/1/1s is the floor.
yeah.
Creating 2/1/1s and two energy is the floor
They can
with
attack right now for four
potential.
damage, but also,
Yeah.
or sorry, they can't attack right now if you don't have all
Right,
the
but then you
energy.
have
But
upside later that you could activate this, so um
yeah.
it's not
Anyway,
the floor is pretty high, but I don't know. It's so hard to judge with the power level being this high. I've never drafted a set with this power level. Well, I have, but
I,
like maybe once kind of
yeah,
thing.
but not to the same thing. Like I've drafted these types of sets, but like in low stakes territory, and
Just
like
with friends while we like,
yeah, and
yeah,
none of us
I
know
don't
what the fuck we're doing. So it's all like
exactly.
we all
Yeah.
suck.
Yeah.
And then nobody's like everyone's like, oh, I'm just gonna try the thing, and not
Right. Yeah. You just want to
it's
do the thing that seems cool because you're only going to draft this once or twice.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's so expensive. So happy that being on Arena, it's gonna be the same price as all the other ones, and we just get to have fun and like just fucking draft, man. I love it. I love
So
it.
what kind of scores are we hoping for here?
All right. So, of all the types of scores that we're looking at, a score of 440, which would be 55% win rate times eight, is not very good. That's basically like you picked randomly because
Yeah.
55% is like it's just it sounds like it's really good, but
Yeah.
to 17 lands users, it's not like supreme, right? Um,
55% is like average. The worst card in the set will be like 51%
mhm.
or something.
Yeah, those kinds of things, or like the average of stuff.
Right. So you can do worse than 4/4
Mhm.
if you picked like all sub median
Garbage, like really
cards.
trash. Um,
Yeah.
and then a score of 480, which would be 60% times 8, is basically impossible. So like
Mhm.
the actual numbers are only like 40 points away from each other, but it'll all be those little things. So
Yeah.
because it's so close, we do have to pick one last card. It is our rare card tiebreaker. Jeff, I'm gonna go first because I already talked about my card this episode.
This
Um,
episode. Okay, interesting.
yeah. So I decided that the rare I thought was going to be best and hardest to deal with in limited, if it's played, is Kappa Cannoneer. The reason I picked this, so Kappa Cannoneer, we talked about it earlier. It's 5 and a blue for a 4/4 artifact creature, Turtle Warrior with Improvise, Ward 4, and then whenever it or another artifact enters the battlefield, it gets a +1/+1 counter. It can't be blocked this turn, so it's always a 5/5. Um, Kappa Cannoneer is not going to be good in this limited format unless you build the deck really
Right.
well. And so I don't think it will be played. It won't be in decks unless it's in the good deck, and then it will do well.
And so you're
Um,
putting your faith in the 17 lands drafters here.
yes, I'm putting my
That they
faith in
won't put it in bad in
that they
decks where it's not appropriate.
that they understand that a 6 mana 4/4 5/5 um, that isn't necessarily in the specific artifacty colors won't try to just play this card. They will
Mhm.
know. They will know that they can't. Because I was having a hard time. The actual just regular rares for the set, nothing just jumped out at me as being just obnoxiously strong.
Yeah, because
Like
there's a
we
lot
don't.
of stuff that's powerful.
There's a lot of stuff that's powerful, but a lot of things like the ones I immediately thought of were like all mythics or like
Yeah.
I was just having a really hard time. So I'm really interested to hear what your rare is because mine is just a reprint. But what is the rare that you thought?
Mine's a reprint too.
Oh,
Um,
okay, all right.
Also new to Arena, getting a lot of buzz in the Timeless
Mm,
community. Um, I just went the other way, like just raw generic,
hmm.
limited power level. Um, I went with Toxic Deluge, man. Like
Oh, nice. Okay.
just a 3 mana wrath. It's not so Toxic Deluge, 2 and a black for sorcery. As an additional cost to cast it, pay X life. All creatures get -X till end of turn. Really nice reset button in limited.
Hmm.
Obviously, there are going to be some scenarios where like you're getting beat down real hard. Life total's not something you really want to pay, but you sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Hmm.
And so I don't know. This card is just a really high power level limited card. That being said, my concern here was like this is a synergy set, and so I thought maybe should I try to sort of snipe a little more like you did, where you know, uh,
Kind
these
of.
the rare that goes in this set in the deck is going to be good. But I was like, let's just pick the card that's for sure at least pretty like at least quite good.
Yeah.
Um,
The cool thing about Toxic Deluge is that it's a very easily scalable
yeah,
wrath, right?
in most situations, this is a 3 mana.
Yeah. I mean, like it, but the cool thing is that like if you're playing the big
Oh, if
stuff,
you have the big creature with the biggest toughness, yeah,
then this just wipes them out. So you get to play this card in your big creature deck that normally doesn't want like you don't want to spend 7 mana on a big creature
right.
and then a wrath, right? You don't want to have both of those things in your deck. This card says, yes, I do want to have that because I get to say, I pay 4 life, kill everything with 4 toughness, attack you for 7 or 10 or whatever. Um,
Yeah, yeah. It's why the Rakdos decks in Pioneer tend to play Languish in their
mhm.
sideboard because
Ooh,
Shieldred
yeah, because
survives it.
Shieldred survives. Oh, yuck.
Yeah.
Ugh. I hate that.
Yeah. So it
But
can it can be a 3 mana was it Dune Scar or whatever?
Doomscar?
No, what's the one from Cons that you pick one creature and destroy all others?
Dune.
Dune something.
Well, Dune
Some
Blast was
Dune
the.
Blast, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Didn't Dune Blast blow up all your opponent's stuff?
I think okay, so
What
Plague
was it?
Wind is destroy your opponent's creatures.
Yeah.
Dune Blast, I think, was choose one creature and destroy everything else. So you
Right.
got to save one of your creatures.
Oh, right.
And so
So one
this
of the.
could be a three
Yes, yeah,
mana
you're right.
plague.
You're right. You're right.
This could be a 3 mana Plague Wind,
Mm-hmm.
but more realistically,
It's a Dune
3 mana
Blast.
Dune Blast is like achievable.
Yeah.
And then generally speaking, we're talking about a 3 mana Wrath of God.
Mm-hmm.
All of those are insane, by the way. 3 mana
Really?
Wrath of God is already insane, and that was like the
Yeah.
lowest power level we were talking about. There are situations where your life total will be too low to really like, because sometimes you're waiting on that Wrath. You're like, take one
Mm-hmm.
more hit, try to survive, wait for the Wrath.
Wrath at
This
4.
is
Yeah.
not the Wrath for you,
Yes.
but
You have to be playing stuff and trading off things.
need a life total, unfortunately, to cast this. Um, but
I it's just so fun to hear you talk about Toxic Deluge because it's such a commander all-star because it's from a commander set.
yeah,
And like I just like that it's we get to come together and everybody has there's a bunch of I mean I'm talking about Kappa Cannoneer, it's a commander card like I'm just happy that I'm excited about these things again and that it's coming to Arena and I like their efforts to push us together.
I'm just thinking like Timeless, Death Shadow. I mean, come on,
That's true. That's
like
that's that's true. That makes me want to play Death Shadow
that
actually.
Death Shadow is going to be real big, real fast.
Yeah. Oh, my turn. Kill all your shit, and then I guess it does shrink your Death
My
Shadow.
guy will only be a 1/1, but
But
next turn,
I guess it will do it instantaneously, right? So you could
yeah,
pay more life than your Death Shadow, and then it'll survive the as it
yeah,
resolves.
yeah. Death Shadow's weird like that.
Yeah. Don't you love magic? Anyway,
It's one of
those
those
are
things you just got to do in arena and let it tell you what happens, and then remember.
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
But anyway, folks, those are our pack zero pick ones. That was a lot of fun, honestly. I
yeah,
had
that
a
was
blast.
great.
I
Yeah.
really enjoy looking at a set before you get to draft it and then seeing how wrong you were.
Yeah, we do
Because
love holding ourselves accountable
we
here in the
do.
arena regularly.
It's
This is
really,
like a very formal way to do it with a
it
point
is.
system and everything. So
Yeah, and a broadcast system to the world to be like,
yeah,
hey, this sucks. But I would like to, as I said before, hey, you look at your all the cards, decide whether you think either of us are right or you're right. There's a different card we missed, all those types of things. I think if you're listening to this weekend before the set comes out, please go to all the links that we have posted below, play the game yourself. If you happen to snipe it and win it, you do get to post that you were the winner of the Pack Zero Pick One for Modern Horizons 3. Only one person will be able to win, and
sure.
it could be you.
It's just like achieving Mythic rank #1, where you have to post it. I think you're obligated to post
Oh,
that
absolutely,
on
yes.
X. Yeah, you get to
On
post this on
totally, you
X.
could post this on Twitter too, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't
I
think you
don't know.
can anymore.
I don't know what Jeff is talking about. You go ahead. You can type in twitter.com on your browser. You'll still go to the website. It's still there. Anyway, Jeff, are you ready for last call?
I sure am, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's go to the end of the episode where we talk about the beer that we've been drinking this evening. Once again, we are drinking Queen of Craft IPA with Necron Cops. Necroton. Wait, shit. I don't.
Nectaron.
Nectaron. There we go.
Remember, it's like nectarine, but not.
Nectarine, but yes. Well, I saved a little bit in my glass just so I could taste it again.
Ooh, that was smart.
Yeah, I've been trying to get a little bit better at this whole
I
like
didn't have that.
remembering how to do
Didn't have
this.
that foresight.
Anyway, all right. It's so much weirder after my other backup beer. Backup beer. Anyway, let's talk about this beer. Sorry, we have to rate it on a scale. This I am feeling very drunk right now, so this is my drunk moment for the episode. It is did I do this already? Yeah, yeah, okay. We're rating this beer on a scale from Bronze to Mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. As always, this has nothing to do with what tier you are in currently. It's just a fun way to rate beer. So don't feel bad when we say that bronze beers are trash. They're horrible. You have to spit them out. You pour them on the ground, and you hate them.
I feel like you just went from bronze to mythic on the drunkenness scale in
I really
like
did. Yeah,
30
I
seconds.
just
I don't
fell
know
apart.
where that came from. But silver beers are macro brews, they're boring, or like just bad beers, to be honest.
Hmm. Uh, Gold beers are fine, but you wouldn't really drink them again.
Platinum are solid, and you would drink them again.
Diamond beers are exceptional. You like these a lot. You show them to your friends.
And Mythic, these are the best of the best. These are the Zach picks, like every common he picked, that of the beer world.
Oh, you're gonna just make me feel so awful next week when these are so wrong.
Hey man, I'm shooting for like 441 or better.
Hmm. I really hope. All I want is to beat you. That's honestly what it is.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Um,
I don't know. You made some good picks. I think you might
I
you might have me
hopefully
on this one.
we'll see. Excuse me. Oh my God. Anyway, Jeff, what did you think about this beer?
Um, Good. I liked it. Zach and I had like little chat sort of offline before the show about how we've tried a few things around Toronto that are trying to. We have something here called the Society of Beer Drinking Ladies, and there's a few beers that have come out from different breweries that have tried to be supportive of different causes related to supporting women.
Hmm.
And oftentimes, like we're really excited about that, and then the beer itself just like doesn't do it for us, and then you're in that weird spot where you're like, I want to love this, I just don't. This one was a little better, I thought. This was like a little closer to what I expect from IPA. It used the hops that I don't think I've ever tried it before, at least not explicitly. Like I've never seen it called out and then tried the beer and like registered that flavor kind of thing. So it may have been in the background of some beers that I've tried, but um,
Hmm.
I don't recognize it super well. It didn't taste anything like nectarines, but I think I'm okay with that. So yeah, I thought this beer was really nice IPA. Um, Interested in trying more Nectaron hops, see if I can
Hmm.
like develop that ability to like really taste what Nectaron hops actually
For
mean.
sure. I mean,
Um,
like Jeff, I already know what Nectaron hops taste like,
yeah.
and if you didn't taste nectarines, what the hell is wrong with you? Like that was straight nectarine, like
I got more like
full
pineapple, I
juice.
think. Like if any fruit there was like if I had to compare that to a fruit, I would have said pineapple. But
All right. No, I'm just joking. It didn't really taste like nectarines. Um, I thought it was nice. It had a really great body.
yeah.
Um, Ultimately, it's not as tropical as I would like some of my IPAs. Some of those ones that are hazy like that, I would like it to be a little bit smoother, and it has some of those like more bitter notes to it, which I think is really nice,
It has a bit of bite, yeah.
but not what I always want and usually
I got some
makes
tropics though. Like I said, the
right.
pineapple-ish kind of
That's
tropical thing is was there for me. But
for sure. Um,
to me it
I
was kind of the right amount. I know you like it a
gotcha.
little
I
heavier on
wanted,
that and
yeah, I would like it to be heavier,
yeah.
please. Thanks.
Yeah.
Could you do that next time?
Come
Um,
on.
but no,
Make it a
I
welly. Put a welly
100%.
on, whatever their thing is.
I definitely agree that like this one's probably the best one of all these different beer drinking lady societies that we've drank. I think it's also just a difficult thing to come into a brewery and be like, "Hey, we want a beer that's like this," and you basically try once, and then like that's the beer. Like
Right, yeah. Contract
that's
brewing is tough. Yeah.
it's really difficult. So this is probably the best one we've had.
Yeah.
Great job. With that
You know
being
what?
said,
I'm gonna jump out there. I'm gonna give this one a solid platinum,
yeah,
and
okay.
I think we're pushing ourselves towards diamond tier, but I don't think we're
Hmm.
quite, you know, I could say diamond, but I wouldn't be being true to
Yeah,
myself there on that one, I think. So
it's
we'll
definitely
go
a
with
platinum.
a high platinum for me.
I could taste this again. I could taste it again. I could drink
Yep.
this again and be fine
Yep.
with it. Yeah, definitely a solid beer. Felt like Wellington, like I doesn't feel embarrassing that Wellington made this, which is
Yeah.
important for these kind of one-off things that they don't
Yeah,
make often.
totally. Hopefully that means they'll make more and then they'll
Yes,
just sort of iterate and really
better and
wow
better and
us.
better. Love it. With that, let's go to closing time. As always, you can reach us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram.
May also find us on Arena Regulars, sorry, on Arena itself under the username Arena Regulars Podcast.
If you want to talk to me personally, you can find me at Zulberg or regular underscore Zach on all the different places: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch. But Jeff, where can they find you?
Best place is on our Discord channel. I go by regular Jeff there. We share lists. We share, I don't know, maybe we'll share what we posted for
Yes.
this.
Yeah. We will.
Yeah, and the results.
Hmm.
And you know what? You should join as well and come share with us what you think the best commons in Modern Horizons or 3 are. We would love to see that. I go by regular Jeff on there, and the link is in the show notes.
That's right. Also, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. Leave us a review there as well. Go to our YouTube channel. Give us a like. All those things help a lot. But most importantly, if you like the show, please tell your friends. It means a lot. If we feel like your friends, maybe your friends will also feel like our friends. And then they can join the Discord. Then we can actually be friends and we can draft together and we can have a good time and everyone will be happy. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you to fill out your Pack Zero Pick One selections so that you can win eternal glory and get immortalized with brief Twitter fame.
Good night.